I think people should understand that we are very ambitious, and we are not only content to stay in the league, we are not only content to be a mid-table club. We did a lot of review about the last season. I feel the team lost a kind of leadership. We didn't have the clear communication, motivation, or disciplines. After Vito came and we worked together, the first thing is just try to rebuild the team, to talk with all the players to understand and what they want. Last January, we did let some players go, sign some new players, then build a new team and a new leadership team. So it shows that squad was good enough, but we did something wrong off the pitch. The biggest lesson I have learned in the last 10 years is sometimes when you are doing so well, be careful. You have to prepare for different options. Otherwise, if you only go to one pathway, if you fail there, then no pathway to come back.
Jeff, so excited to have you in the studio. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you a lot, for having me.
Very excited for it. It's been nearly 9 years since you took control of Wolves, I think.
Yes, 9 years ago, I came to the UK by myself and traveled here. Then to come to a new town I never know about, and it's just so it's 9 years is quite a good journey for me.
What did you think when you arrived? You came from Shanghai, a city of 20 million people, to Wolves, a much smaller place.
I think because I watch football a lot, even in my childhood, and the Premier League or the Championship, I know a bit, and we feel commercially there is a chance to promote the club to the Premier League, and we feel the chance, and so we came. So I think at the beginning we didn't know much about football at that time, but we felt, but we are working more for business side. So we feel when we feel a chance to come, we come here to invest, to try to do something here. Yeah, so
what was it about Wolves that made you so interested in them?
Actually, I didn't know Wolves a lot, and I played a football manager. So
we used to love football manager. We spent all summer playing football manager.
Yeah, I knew Wolverhampton Wanderers from that game, but I didn't watch a lot Wolves in the Premier because they only had 4 seasons during the last maybe 20, 30 years, and so I knew more about Wednesday, about Sheffield United or Ipswich or whatever. So, but not too much about Wolves. Then. But we talked with West Brom first, and because at the time West Brom owner Jeremy Peace wanted to sell the club, and they were in the Premier League then, so we talked with him for 3 months, but we felt the price too high. They are trying to sell for 200 million-ish. I thought, come on, we have to invest 200 million, then maybe spend another 100 million to stay up, whatever. So it's not a good investment. So, but at the time, Steve Morgan knew we are trying to find a chance. Then he spoke with us, and I flew to the UK to meet him in his house, and a massive house, and then spoke with him, and then eventually we found the deal is quite good, and 30 million-ish at the beginning. Then we invest maybe still 100 million, but we can be promoted. I think commercially or financially it's better, and compared with the other project. So that's why. So so we came here to find the right project to work in. Yeah.
So it's literally 1/6 of the price.
A
club very close by, but just because they really had a Premier League place, that shows you the value of competing in the leagues and how that could change when you move in between the two. When you came in and you were in the Championship. Yeah. Was the first thing that you looked at to figure out the football side so that you could get the performance piece to the place where you could then hopefully get promoted and play in the Premier League?
We didn't know much. The first season, 2016, 2017, was a nightmare for me because first, I think I didn't have enough knowledge about the league at the moment, Championship even. 2, we took over the club in July. It's very late, and the EFL, I think, had gone through a long process to approve our takeover. Then eventually, when we finally sign off all the paperwork, it's mid-July already. And so we only had maybe 1 month to prepare all the transfers. And then the head coach, Kenny Jackett, warned me, and in person, he said, Jeff, if you don't do anything, we will be relegated. So we signed maybe 7 or 8 players, and in a rush, eventually, fortunately, we stayed up in the championship for that season. But it's a nightmare, and but of course, and it's something we have to go through. Yeah.
Can I ask? You said that you played Football Manager, and fell in love in some ways through that. How much of what you do is like Football Manager, and how much is very, very different?
Oh, a lot. If you want to talk about the game, I can talk with you for 24 hours. If you're a Football Manager, is one of my favorite games, So, but the first difference is in Football Manager. If you play the game, after a long time playing, several players will be always good. For real world football, no one knows. You can sign a player, you feel good, and but the next day he is injured, or the next day he didn't do well, whatever. So then also another thing for Football Managers, I think you more or less you can find the formula or whatever, the shape, how to play, and you have to try and test at the beginning, but eventually you know what's the best way to go through. But for football, the challenges are always evolving, so every year is different, and you can play this way, you have a good success, then the next year maybe you will fail. So it's changing every year, every day, every month, and you have to adapt and learn very quickly.
You said you can sign the players, and sometimes they do well, sometimes they don't. Who signs the players for you?
I think normally the manager will tell us and what's the positions he wants to sign, and then what's the profile, and maybe he will give us 2 or 3 names he knows very well. But we will check all the names, then we will finally propose maybe 2 or 3 names for every position to the head coach. Then he will say yes or no. So it's like a conversation. Both parties have the veto rights, so we can veto a player if we feel sorry. Veto, no, it's too expensive for us, whatever. Or he can veto a player, no, Jeff, and I don't think the player is good for my shape or my style or whatever. So, but only when both say yes, then we will go forward. But it's a constant mutual ways conversation, and it's like that.
Which happens more often? You veto them or them veto you?
I think it's very rare to go to the final veto step. Sometimes we have the chemistry. We don't need to say anything. He knows me. I know him. So we know, and more or less the player can't go through whatever. So we will not go to that step. Okay, veto or Jeff, you can't do this. No, I say, but. It's more we try to respect the coach's view and try to find a way to help him. But he also understands the philosophy of the club, the financials, and for example, the balance about the age groups and old players, young players, or whatever. But eventually, I think we help him try to find the choice. So veto is a kind of maybe too strong word. It's more about common sense or common understanding about something in general. But it's not every coach doing something like this. Some coach, maybe they just don't even try to have the chemistry with me, so it's tough.
Really?
Yeah, really.
But that's really important, isn't it, for you to be able to be collectively successful in a football club? The relationship between the performance team and those running the business. If you don't have that, isn't it hard for you to deliver in the ways you need to, and for the team to
if we can't have
to?
that, the coach can't stay longer. So So for example, story, like, I think we once have a coach and it just said you have to sign someone or I have to leave. Then eventually, we compromised. We signed that. We signed Rose player, but eventually he left. So no matter what happens or whatever. So so I think if any coach he wants to work in a club for a long time, like more than 2 or 3 years, it's necessary owner, management, leadership team, and the coach have a kind of chemistry and a common understanding about what the club wants to do, and the identity the limitation and also the potential, the ambition. It's so important. Yeah.
How do you look at the development of that performance team? You're managing a business and you need them to be able to operate to deliver the best results for you on the pitch. You've had, Nuno, who's doing incredibly well at Forest now. You've had Lopetegui, you've had then Gary O'Neill and Bruno Lage. What do you look for in those people that are managing that performance side of the team to be able to deliver for you?
I think two things. The first thing is about they have to be very good, because in the Premier League, it's very hard to be a coach because you are facing another 19 top coaches in the world and maybe the best 19 coaches in the world. So you have to be one of the best. So sometimes we work with a coach. He's very nice. He works with us very well, very professional and working very hard. But if he is not good enough, on the pitch to coach a team or to face challenge from other teams in the Premier League with top players, he can't do the job. So, and also number two, if you are good enough, but you can't work well with us for the chemistry, for the cooperations, for the understanding, then also not working. So it's very hard. It's so difficult to find the right coach for any Premier League clubs. That's the reason. And character-wise, I think background-wise and ability-wise, and it's not easy.
Can I ask, when you look at you mentioned several different coaches, all of them great in many different respects. I think of like Sir Alex Ferguson, success is often defined by continuity and sustainability, the same thing. How much do you think about wanting to ensure consistency versus changing it up when it needs to be changed up?
Yeah, I think Man United is a good example. So they used to have a very long period of success with one coach, but when they changed the coach, and it's tough. I understand how tough it is, because when the coach has quite a strong fingerprint there, then it's very hard to change it, to build a new system about this. And for us, I think in modern football, in Wolves, and we are trying to have a leadership team and for 5 or 6 people doing different things. Right. So I think when you have the leadership team, then we try to manage the jobs. Then after that, leave the head coach, maybe not too big things to do, just to try to train the players, try to get players done and doing a good job. Then try to decide what to do for the match day or whatever, and also to support the head coach and mentally or whatever. And I think eventually when you do a teamwork, it's easier to do some succession plan. Otherwise, when you allow the coach to do everything, first, he may not be happy to do everything. He's not happy, he's too busy, whatever. 2, he thinks, what you are doing, so it's my job. Then eventually he's not happy, he may leave. Eventually when he leaves, and we may feel tough to do more things and to find the success or to build something new. So Wolves, I think in the last 10 years has gone through the first period of time to rely hugely on one coach, but we don't do much, So then until now, we start to think about to have a team and to maybe have different teams to be expertise on every separate areas, then try to give the coach maybe an area for him to focus on. Then eventually we can be more sustainable for the future.
Is there a coach you think you cut the cord on, let go too early?
It's very hard to say. Yeah, for example, like the last one, Gary, maybe we cut the tie too late. So just I think the team has lost the form and mentality, blah, blah. But normally we cut the tie too late. So we should do it earlier. So, just because when you work with a coach, you start to build a kind of emotional attachment to him, so it's like a team. Then you talk with him for every day, every morning, every night. Then when you decide to do something with him and you feel emotionally weak in your heart, but scientifically, maybe you should do something more decisively. Yeah.
It's a hard balance to strike, though, isn't it? Because there are some managers where if you cut the ties when there's a demand to cut ties, especially from a fan base, you wouldn't have had a lot of the success that comes with it. Sometimes time is needed in football, and football's not very good with time. We generally as fans want things done immediately if they're not working now. But when you're having to do that, and then you go out and bring in a new coach, like if we're looking at last season, you actually brought in someone who's now integrated incredibly well, and effectively you secured the position in the Premier League, which the fans were really worried about when Gary left. How has Vitor transformed the club this season to be able to now, as you've said to us before we came on air, look ahead really positively to what's coming?
Yeah, we did a lot of review about the last season. I think actually we have a good team, and even when Gary was the coach, I think we have a okay team and not so bad and try to drop in the bottom three for so long. But we did something wrong because at that time I feel the team lost a kind of leadership, so we didn't have the leadership, we didn't have the clear communication in the dressing room, and we lost a little bit discipline. And so when you don't have the leaders there, then eventually you feel the team lost a kind of motivation or disciplines, and also to freestyle play and in any game, So that's the reason. So after Vitor came and we worked together, try to address the first thing is just try to rebuild the team. We had a new captain, new head coach, new coaching team, and to talk with all the players to understand and what they want, and try to let some players, they are not happy, maybe they have to go. So I think last January was almost perfect for us. We did let some players go, sign some new players, then build a new team and a new leadership team. So that's what we have done. So it shows that the squad was good enough, but we did something wrong off the pitch.
When all of this is happening, communication with fans is always the hard bit, but it's also some of the most important bits, building that communication line and trust. How easy is that for you to do?
Yeah, for myself, I think, of course, I can only talk about myself. I think I made a mistake, and maybe I tried to stay away from the ball for a while. I think after the promotion to the Premier League, we did really well, right? So we went to Europe, and we were seventh twice, and I felt maybe I don't need to do much. Because I'm not from football industry, so I have more interest. I like games, I like videos, I like movies, I like music. So I think maybe we can do more about something else, and I can focus on that and maybe leave the people here to do the job here, whatever. So I suppose in the last few years, I try to not stay away, but maybe don't spend enough time here, whatever. So then now I realized I have to be inside the training ground, the building, and try to do something until one day I can find one or two guys and to do my job here. So that's from my personal side, and it's difficult because in a football team they need a leader to tell them what to do and to show them what's the right way to do. So if I intended to leave a bit, then people start to feel a little bit disoriented, So, and then I think that maybe it's my personal mistake. Then now I come back. So, for example, after January and December, I spent every day in the training ground, 24 hours, talking with all the guys, whatever. Then for next season, I don't know. I hope I can find the balance, but it's very hard because I feel we can have a team to do the same job as I'm doing, but I feel eventually maybe they needed to see you here to talk with them.
So do you feel after the last 6 months of doing that, do you feel now that is the way that you need to operate here to run the club?
Yeah, it's not ideal for me, so I've been in the industry for almost 9 to 10 years, But this job is it's very interesting. They need you to be stick to the training ground, even when they're in London, not right. You have to be in the training ground because the players, the coach, the people, they want to see you in person. They want to speak with you in person, and also when you are there in person, things are different. So I don't know. To be honest, I have no idea how to solve that.
What's different when you're there in person?
I don't know. I just I can give you, for the first year, for example, 2016, 2017, I tried to stay in Shanghai because my home was in Shanghai then. So my family was in Shanghai then. I tried to travel here every 2 or 3 months for 1 month here, then maybe in total 3 months in a year in Wolverhampton. But it didn't work. So then after that season, I decided to move the whole family here. My daughters, my wife to move. Then eventually things worked. Then after that, I tried to diversify my interest a little bit to different things. Then things not working very well. Then when I try to focus, I don't know. I just feel maybe it's like a company. You need a CEO always to be there, then to get the ideas across.
You mentioned that before we came on air, that you're trying to do things differently. And you've also talked here about esports. You've talked about broader interests for you. How are you doing things differently as a football club?
I think for 2 reasons. First, I want to say why. Okay, so for example, the first reason is about commercial side. If you really want to put Wolves to be a big club, for example, as big as Man City or Man United, one day, you have to look at the market here. UK has maybe 60 million people, right? So then they have maybe, 10,000 clubs, 92 professional clubs, whatever. So every club, the interesting side is every club has a solid fan base. If you think about the population of the country and all the clubs, the market is so saturated, so it's very hard. For example, if you are a West Ham fan, it may be impossible for me to convert you into a Wolves fan, right? It's impossible, right? So even the team is doing well or not, vice versa, So then you think about commercially, if you think about the growth of the club, and if you really are ambitious, try to reach the same fan base that Man United do have, what you should do. So that's a question about why. Then another thing is about myself. I think I always believe, and football is a show, movie is a show, TV show is a show, music is a show, esports is a show. So all the show business, they are similar in nature. They have to have the fan base followers. Then you can try to talk with them, to speak with them, make them emotionally attached to what you are doing. Then maybe they will pay for that. So I suppose that kind of idea can be extended into different categories. So that's my personal interest. And I used to be a CEO in a video company in China. I used to work in a gaming company for a long time, so that's my personal interest. So 2 reasons about why. How then we can talk more about this.
Can we just pause? You said commercially quite a few times. You said about kind of the investment benefits before about owning a club. You come from different industries and you understand business as a CEO. The P&L, the budgets of football teams, looks horrendous. They continuously lose money year after year after year. I mean, the losses are substantial for Wolves and for every club that we have on. These are seemingly not good businesses. Where do you get the confidence that commercially it is a good investment?
I think depending on how you do the business, and the trend is not good at the time now. And when we invest into the Premier League 10 years ago or 9 years ago, or the Championship, I think then it's still okay, not too bad. But now, after some owners, they came to the league and they tried to invest a lot. They didn't care financials at all. And someone even trying to break PSR rule or whatever. I think you're right. The financial environment and for a sensible owner or commercial guy, it's bad because you have to compete with the reckless spenders on the pitch, but also in the meantime you have to look after your P&L or whatever. So it's not good. But I hope one day it can change because the industry will adjust to itself. When I think all the owners, they can't keep spending unlimitedly for a long time. So you have to. I think the industry will look at itself and in the mirrors and maybe try to learn from the lessons or whatever. But you have to be patient. For every industry, until one day it's quite mature and commercialized, and all the owners, they are sensible, you have to wait maybe 20 to 30 years, whatever. So currently, financially, commercially, I think for owners, we are in a better moment not because of us, because the league is quite divided now, and maybe there are 10 owners like us. We care about financials, we care about sustainability, but another 10 maybe they don't care at all. So, yeah.
You mentioned there the kind of conditions changing in the markets, which make it a tougher business to run financially. In finance, we say that markets can stay irrational longer than a company can stay solvent. Okay?
Yeah.
Which is a very good statement.
Yeah.
The question is, how much are you willing to lose to wait before markets regain rationality?
The first thing is you have to make sure you are the best one on spend the money most efficiently. So I think we have an index called capital efficiency. So for every dollar or pound we invest into the club, we have to make sure compare with other 19 clubs, and in a long term, in 5 to 10 years, and we are maybe the most efficient one on investing. So I think we are maybe one of the best in the league now. So when you invest less but enough, but the capital investment is limited, then you have more space to survive or to sustain or to grow. For example, if you spend 1 billion into Wolves, for example, okay, maybe 1 or 2 seasons you will be good enough. But if a better season comes, you can't revive from that, because if you go down or you have better season, you have already spent 1 billion. Even you sell the club now, you will lose money for sure. So the important thing is to control the spending in I think in a range, and you still feel safe. So it's a little bit like in a bank, you have to have enough reserves, in your bank, so to prepare for the better good moments. So that's our way to think about the long-term future. Like you said, if the league may come good eventually, but you die before the dawn, right? So yeah, that's what we have to do.
If we're looking at some of the numbers recently, turnover's been, let's say, anywhere between 160 to 180 million, but costs could have been 200 to 230 million, i.e., losing maybe 15 million a year to 60 million a year. How do you balance covering the losses with also what you can invest in progressing the club forward?
Yeah, in our way, I think if everything is right according to our business model or strategy, we should break even, and on EBITDA level and on net profit level. I think we should do this, but sometimes we lost money because maybe we were too emotional to do something, like spending too much, or in a very difficult time, for example, when we were in the bottom 3, so we had to adapt, we had to react, we have to change the coach or change the players, then you spend more for that. So for example, if every season we are top 10 or 11th, or no danger to go down, no danger to go up, or whatever, I think it's not too hard for us to break even for everything. And but just football is not like that. So if you ask me how to balance, so the balance is not from the financial books. It's more about the squad and how to make sure the squad is right, the budget, the cost, the competence is right to compete. Yeah.
You mentioned emotionality, maybe spending too much. Where do you think, with hindsight, you spent too much and you would make a different decision knowing what you know now?
Yeah, I think we had a big lesson to learn from maybe 2020 to 23, 24, I think, in those years, because we were twice the 7th in the league. We thought we should be in top 4. So we were very ambitious. We thought, okay, and we could achieve there. Then, so we spent more after the 2 seasons, and we tried to
which is rational, because you're making more and more from media rights and from, I guess, increased ticket sales.
Yeah, you can say it's rational, but it's also irrational, because it's rational. Maybe for next season you had a chance, but it's not right if you missed that chance. Maybe how to deal with what happens afterwards, right? So the wage bill or whatever. So I think we gambled a bit, and in maybe the 3rd year or the 4th year in the Premier League, and we failed. We tried to do more, tried to reach top 6, but we failed. But after the failure, unfortunately, your wage bill is very high, your transfer fee is very high. Then it's not easy to adjust back, so you have to think about a way to maybe to rebuild a team to have a more balanced wage structure and the cost structure and the revenue structure and to rebound from that. But it's not easy. Now I felt if you fail once, you need 2 or 3 years to go through that or period of time to rebuild a new team. So now we are here, 24, 25. Now we are here. Maybe we think we are ready to rebuild or restart again for a new time or period. But if you ask me, the biggest lesson I have learned in the last 10 years is sometimes when you are doing so well, be careful. And you have to prepare for different options. Otherwise, if you only go to one pathway, if you fail there, then maybe no pathway to come back. Yeah.
I have a couple of Wolves connections in my friendship with big fans.
Yeah.
They said they had obviously the feeling that it was that period of, I think in the year you had Raul Jimenez's horrible injury and you had Nuno leaving. And then after that, he said he felt like there was a challenge to maintain that.
I feel the 2 years with Nuno in the Premier League and was not so stable for us because we were a little bit lucky sometimes on the pitch and to win a game, and we played quite defensively, so we played 3-5-2, sometimes 3-4-3, and very deep, very, very deep, and the whole team was not so quick. They were slow. We were a slow team, but we were very quick on counter attack, and we have maybe Adama Traore or whoever. I think this kind of style play can't handle well now in the league now, but 6 or 5 years ago maybe still okay. And we have a very small squad then, and then without too many injuries. For the first two seasons, we didn't have many injuries, and so a small squad we can compete very well. But all the things happened for 2 years, and I think that kind of squad, that kind of style play, and that kind of luck on the pitch can't last for long. So I don't think that 2 years is a good benchmark. Okay, we can build from that, we can start from that to do more. But we didn't know that then. Now I look back, I thought, okay, it's like that, and but then maybe we thought, okay, we could start from there to do more. So actually, too early success is not good. Too early success is gonna it's like an illusion for you to feel you are doing so well, but actually you are not doing so well. And also, apart from the first team, the club itself, from the structure, the staff, the leadership team, they are not also ready. And it's more about Nuno's one-man team, so just to do all the job. And the club haven't or didn't support him enough on what we should do. And then eventually when he left, and we have to rebuild a new team. Sometimes, for example, I learned a lot from Brighton, for example. And in the first, they almost got into the league together with us, and they were 1 year ahead of us. But the first 3-4 years was tough for them. They were always bottom half and sometimes close to the bottom 3. And for a moment, I don't feel they know what to do, So then, but eventually they came good because they learned from the starting 3 or 4 years. Now they build their own strengths now, and so we were very good at the beginning, but we didn't achieve that because we had a good foundation from the club, So then we try to adjust. Then eventually, now I'm trying to build this kind of foundation in the club and to sustain us for long-term success in the future.
When you think about sustaining for long-term success in the future and kind of going through the peaks and troughs of rebuilding and kind of building that foundation again, where do you think Wolves is at in the rebuild process? Like, is now the time to reinvest again heavily into players? Is now the time to maintain? How do you think about where you are?
I think if you want to summarize one thing, it's about the understanding about football. So the understanding about football from me, from the team here, from the staff here, and from everyone, from a physio to the head, to the sports scientists, to the people in charge of communication, to the coach, to the player, to everyone. So how to make the club as a whole, as a team, to understand football better. What I mean to understand elite football, to understand how to compete in the Premier League. And I think that's something we have evolved, and I think we are almost most there now. Just I think otherwise, if you don't understand football enough, sometimes you are so lucky to win something, but eventually you will lose.
I guess my question is bluntly, do you need to spend again to win again?
I don't think so. I think we can still spend with the budget we want to spend.
And is that budget the budget that you sell? We mentioned Football Manager, and if you sell 100 million in Football Manager of players, you can invest 100 million. Is it like that in real life?
No, it's not really like you spend 100 million, then you sell 100 million. It's like, for example, if you want to break even, so for example, you look at the P&R, and then it's a kind of a good angle to think about how to spend. So for example, when you spend 20 million for a player, and normally they sign for 5 years, for example, then by amortization, maybe for 1 year, it's like 4 million a year contributing to the cost, to the P&R, whatever. Then,
because you'll break up the payment into 5-year payments.
Not about the payment system. It's about the contract length for the player. So amortization is based on the contract length of the player. So that's the reason why Chelsea want to sign 10 years. But if you look at the P&R, if you want to break even, you can think of that way. Or you think about the cash flow, you want to break even, you can think that way. But not. It's rare to think like that. We spend 1 million or 100 million we sell. It's not the same, because if you think about the cash flow will be paid year by year for a sale. So it's not like all the money will come now. If you think about the P&R, the cost for a player will be amortized for the contract length. So I know it's easy to think that way, but in real life football world, we don't think that way. Yeah.
But it's hard between real life and then managing fan expectation again, isn't it? Because fans will see big numbers in newspapers. They see Cunha and Aït-Nouri going for X value, and then they see that as a total, they'll add it up and they'll expect that to come back in. So do you think it's important to be able to explain how that process actually works, to make sure that they don't get disappointed with the outcomes of, should we say, your business in the transfer market?
Yeah, I'm looking forward to share some view about some knowledge or whatever, or common sense for example, PSR. So far, I can tell you, not only fans, some people in the industry, they don't understand PSR. Because PSR is about some understanding about financial regulation, about amortization, about something like this. People don't understand that. Then also, so I think I'm happy to share something with the fans, and they know how to amortize. Even they know what's the right way to do the financials, whatever. Even they know how to balance the account, they don't want to see that. They want to see still you spend, because they are very ambitious to do something for next season, or they are scared maybe the team will not do well. So sometimes there is a mind trap now in football. You feel you spend a little bit more, you feel safer. It's for your emotional value in your heart. But actually, science tells you it's no difference, but you still want to spend.
Which player did you sell that you least wanted to sell?
I think in the last 9 or 8 years, I think we shouldn't have sold Diogo Jota. I think at that time, I spoke with Nuno, and we may sell one of the players, maybe Diogo or Adama, whatever. Then Nuno chose Adama to stay, so because he thinks maybe Adama was so important for how he played. But we sold it. Of course, at the time, Diogo was injured a little bit too much, so he was injured for 2 months, then 2 months again, or whatever, and not playing so well in the last 3-4 months for us. But he went to Liverpool. He did so well, and I was very happy for him. He was a very good guy and a smart boy. So, but if you ask me if I can change the history, I wouldn't have sold him.
Who did you buy that with the benefit of hindsight you wouldn't buy again?
Maybe the worst deal is Patrick Cuccione. So we bought him in the third season, whatever. Then, but his character was not suitable for UK. So I think maybe his style play maybe more for Italian football. So I think he's a nice guy, but I just feel we signed him.
How much did you sign him for?
18, was it?
80 million euro, yeah. But he did it very, very well in AC Milan then, so we may be a little bit attracted to his history in AC Milan, a young boy, whatever, a little bit, but not scouted enough about what's the style play in the Premier League. Sometimes you are attracted by the name, whatever. So that's something we have to learn. Yeah.
There was a time where you were signing some absolutely incredible players, should we say, that the major top Premier League teams were chasing. Ruben Neves is a perfect example in the Championship, right? And you bring them in to play for you and be a part of that project. Also, then the relationship with Jorge Mendes and being able to leverage the influence that someone like that has to bring the players in seems to be really influential. How do you work with someone like Jorge to build the value of the club and the playing squad?
First, I want to say the industry is such strongly linked with agencies. So agencies, especially big agencies, they are very strong in the market, and fans may think from two clubs and we sign, we sell. It's not really like this, because every player, they have one agency and alongside them and advise them where to go or whatever. So all the deals are linked strongly with the agency. So you need the agency help, and if you just say you don't like all the agencies, then no deal will happen. Even now, for 17 years old or 15 years old, they have agents, so it's very hard to bypass the agent. So what I would say is, if you have a good network with all the agencies, not only for George, they will help you, and of course with a professional way, right? So then we knew George even before we came to the UK to buy Wolves, so we were good friends, and I know how he did really well in Portuguese market, and so many boys and from a younger age and from him, and to become a superstar, whatever. So his help will be very important to us, and also it's not only about deals; it's about mutual understanding. And when you have 3 or 4 good agents to work with, you know their habits, you know how they think, you know how professional they are, it's easy to do deals because they can help you. They are powerful. Then if you don't have that, it's not easy. I'm sure not only for us, every club in the Premier, they have 2 or 3 agents very familiar with, and they are working very closely together. Yeah.
Just on that, so you call him up and you say, "Hey, I want Ruben," and he says, "Sure, I'll make it happen."
No, I think for Ruben, and I knew Ruben was a new and a potential high potential young player then, and so before we bought Wolves, I already went to Porto to watch a game, and Ruben was the captain then at 18 years old, so then after 2 years, I remember the names. Then I spoke with Nuno, I spoke with George, and we decided to bring him. But actually at the time, I forgot the price, maybe 80 million euro, something like this, and it's very high in the Championship at that time, so I thought, okay, and it's very expensive, and for 18 years old or 19 years old, and can we do that? And but to be fair, Nuno liked the boy very much, and so eventually he thought how Ruben played is suitable for how we played then, because he had a very fantastic long pass, so long pass range, and also reading the game very, very well. He became the anchor of our midfield, and from that squad. So
he was the youngest captain in Champions League history, I think, at the time, which was incredible.
Yeah, but for example, if you want to convince Ruben Neves or Diogo Jota to join a Championship club, then it's not easy. You needed the help from George, of course. Yeah.
That's where I want to talk about the fan side, because this is where it actually comes into everything you're doing, not just on the pitch, but off it. It's when you're building a football club like this and you want to do so much more than just the work on the pitch. How do you manage the communications with them so that they don't fear you're losing focus on the football side, where they just want players and they just want performance up the table, while you're also doing broader work in business, entertainment, esports? How do you manage the balance?
I think, the first thing is for me, the first thing is to maybe to understand social media is not all the fans. So if you look at the social media, you will feel a lot of very negative or toxic fans are always on social media. But that's the world we are living now, because the algorithm now, and we are living in a social media cocoon, something like this. So the social media always pushed the related content to you. So if you only rely on that, you are not seeing the whole world. So I think when you talk with the fan base, when you speak with them, and you have to, the first thing is maybe forget about the social media first. Try to talk with them in person. Try to understand them. So for example, for Wolves, and there are two phenomena. One is on social media, a lot of negative voice, and Jeff, why you are doing esports? I don't care, whatever, something like this. But in person, for example, when I engage with the fan group, whatever, and they are happy because esports help the club and to spread across the whole world, and then try to make more people know about us. So now Wolves, something I'm very proud of is 9 years ago, Wolves is a kind of, in China we call it a kind of provincial club, whatever. So in an area, West Midlands, people are proud of the club in that area, but out of the area, no one knows about it. It's just, no one cares. But now Wolves is a club or a kind of organization, and all over the world, and people know about the logo, people know about the club. So that's what I want to do. But of course, some fans maybe in local area, they don't like that. But I think they are the minority. So I think it's just we try to do something we want to know, we want to do, and also we try to speak with more fans in person to understand what they really think, but also be careful about how to read the social media content, because they are partial, they are not the fair reflection of the whole fan base.
But before we continue with the show, we want to take an opportunity to thank our sponsor for the show, Revolut Business, the account designed to add efficiency to your business finances. Now, every business hits those big turning points when efficiency is the difference between make or break. Revolut Business makes your finances efficient, helping you manage team expenses, control spend, and expand into new markets, bringing everything you need into one place. Now, we heard on a recent show how Revolut have partnered with Manchester City Women to create cutting-edge partnerships, and I'm delighted to say they haven't stopped there. We've teamed up with them to offer a special offer for our listeners and viewers. And if you're new to Revolut Business, you're in luck. Open a Revolut Business account today using the link in this episode's description, add money to your account, and get a £200 welcome bonus. Pay and get paid globally in over 30 currencies, automate your expenses, set custom card controls, and earn up to 3.51% annual interest paid daily, all on one platform. You'll be ready for whatever's next with this all-in-one account that's designed for efficiency and built for business. Click the link in this episode's description to sign up and get your £200 welcome bonus. This reward is only available until the 7th of July 2025, and T's and C's apply. Now, back to the show.
What do you think is the biggest misalignment between fan bases and ownership?
I think one big alignment is we are together. We want the club. We want Wolves to do well. But if you want to pick out one misalignment is fans, sometimes they think the job is very easy. But actually the job is very hard. So when you think the job is easy or whatever, then you think you should do this, you should do that. So for example, if you say Wolves at 16th or 14th, 13th, whatever, in the last 3 seasons, whatever, you can say it's very bad, or you can say it's okay, depending on how you judge the difficulty on things, So I think, you want to pick out the misunderstanding or misalignment is, I think, the judgment on the difficulty of the job. And it's like you play a game, and if you play easy mode, and it's easy. But we actually, Wolves in the Premier League, we are playing hard mode.
Do you think it's been a case of you've given them a taste of what I guess success really can look like in the Premier League, where you participated in European football, you got to the quarterfinals of the Europa League, right? And you've finished 7th twice. That would have been probably far ahead of where they would have expected things to happen when they got promoted. So you had that huge success early, and now it's been harder to maintain. Is that a problem within football where you set new expectations to then have to live up to those?
Yeah, I think it's maybe not helpful for the perception from the fans, because like I said, now if I look back, I think the first 2 years in the Premier League was not stable, because we won things by a little bit of luck, and also it's not a holistic win from the whole club. It's maybe from one coach or one team, or I think it's not sustainable. But of course, from outside, many people feel it should be something we start from, right? So to build from, then that's the misconception on that. So actually the first 2 years was a kind of barrier for us, because we have to maybe forget about that, then start from zero. And that's what we are doing now. But it's hard to convince fans to feel that. Yeah.
Do you think fans are ready to see clubs as businesses?
No, they don't want to see the business. Yeah. They don't want to see football or club as a business, but they want to see the football club to be sustainable. They want to, of course, they don't want the club to...
Do you think they care if it's like financially sustainable? I think fans want rich owners to keep putting money in and keep putting more money. I don't care if it's sustainable, just keep putting more money in.
But if you go to ask the fans from Blackburn, you go to ask fans from Norwich, from Watford, for example, after we were promoted to the Premier League, the number of relegated teams is maybe 14 teams already were relegated from the Premier League after we were promoted. So if you ask all the teams, they have played in the Premier League, like Wednesday, Wimbledon, Blackburn, Sheffield United, whatever, but Bradford even, right? So all the clubs, if you ask the fans, do they want a sustainable club in the Premier League? Of course, they will raise their hands. But sometimes people are emotional to one moment, so the next season or whatever. But sometimes people are easy to forget about, and the 10 years, 20 years are important. And for example, we have been in the league for 8 years already, and I think it's a good achievement, because it's already the longest run to be in Premier League or in the Tier 1 for Wolves since 1976. So then hopefully it's 9-10 years or whatever. But by doing that, it's not very easy. Like Leicester, you can see that they won the league, they won the FA Cup, they were in the Champions League. But what happened? Do
you think the gap is widening between those teams in the top of the Premier League and, should we say, the rest?
No, on the opposite. I think the gap is shortened. So now at the moment, at the moment we are more close to Man City than we were 3 or 4 years ago, because there are more and more talent in the world, more and more players, they are good at the level. Then Man City or Man United, you can sign maybe the top 10, but we signed the top 30, but top 30 is not so far away from the top 10. So I think one thing good about the Premier League is they are trying to shorten the gap between the top teams and us, and it's happening now. Yeah.
You look at Brighton, Bournemouth, Fulham, Forest, they were all up there competing for European football. Yeah, now, for example, at the beginning, I remember in the first 2 or 3 years when we beat Man City, when we beat United, it's a big news for us, but now it's not big news, it's normal, right? So it's just you win a game against a big team, it's normal. People don't feel it's a surprise. Yeah.
Can I ask you, again, you've spoken commercially as an investment, but fans don't want to see it as a business. If one had a business hat on from Fosun, I'd be selling the club when I'm 7th and when I'm in Europe, because the enterprise value would be highest then, and my investment in would be a 5-year period. I'd be going, okay, time for some liquidity, is how financial manager would look at it.
You mean the balance between long term or short term?
Well, if you are looking at it as a financial investment, when you're 7th, the enterprise value is highest versus when you're 16th, I'm imagining, I suppose. Is that not the best time to be selling? You would have also not spent another 3 years of 50 million losses, so you'd be another 150 million back.
Yes, I think, of course, when you do well on the pitch, it's easy to sell the club, and of course, but we are not planning to sell the club, so I think it's another thing, and we want to build a kind of brand or company to do very well on football, but all on sports and on entertainment, and with the same logo, the same logo, the same name, but we can do versatile things and then try to build different elements into what we want to do. And
what do you not do today then that you think will be most impactful revenue-wise in 5 years?
I think, like esports, we are doing esports, but we are not doing esports big enough. So, for example, esports is a little bit like football maybe 50 years ago. There is a huge fan base in sports, but currently there are teenagers, there are younger people. I think that the industry haven't found a good way to monetize from the fan base enough. But football has found a good way to do that. But time will change. So, for example, from now to 10 years later, and whether esports can build a kind of legalized Premier League for the future, who knows? But if one day it happens, and we will be like Wolves, the founding members of the league, whatever. So that's what I hope to see.
Is it a brand play, or is it a direct revenue contributor to the football side now, esports?
No, it's about they can get the revenue from themselves. So they can sell the tickets, they can get the sponsorship deals, they can get TV broadcasting, whatever. Now they are trying to do this, but it's still too small. So, for example, like a top tier esports organization in Europe, I can imagine maybe the revenue is 20-30 million pounds or whatever. But compared with the top tier here, it's like 500 million or 600 million. So the gap looks very high.
Does that not actually prove the opposite of what you just said, though, which I would actually argue? I think football teams monetize incredibly badly. I think when you look at Manchester United, it's a $5 billion market cap, circa.
And some.
And it has millions and millions and millions of fans around every country in the world. And actually, that shows the monetization inefficiency of football teams.
Because it's a 750 turnover business.
Sucks.
No, I think the opposite. Sorry, I feel football has reached a ceiling for monetization already, and there are not as many fans as you think about that. So, for example, I'm sure Man United don't have 100 million fans. I think the Premier League is doing a good job. Try to build 20 teams together to try to negotiate with all the TV broadcasters to get a good monetization for us. But if you allow every club to go by themselves, separated to the market, they will feel they are weak because the ceiling, we already see the ceiling. So I don't think...
You don't think there's more room for that ceiling to be increased with individual subscriptions to maybe players, behind-the-scenes access, exclusive content that we don't have already, betting innovations where you can do like in-play betting with advanced data that we don't have already?
I think we have tried a lot. The league has tried a lot, and we also have tried a lot. And it's not because the football industry is not growing. The fan base is growing, and there are still more and young boys, young girls interested. But it's because there are so many clubs, So, yeah, the whole pool is high. The whole pool is big, but too many clubs here. So, for example, yeah, it's like you compete each other. It's a bigger pool, but you have too many ducklings there, so then you try to squeeze away. So you can't have enough water, just so football, the problem is one side we encourage more and more players to join the competition clubs, whatever players. Yeah, it helps us to spread the sports around the world, every corner in the world, and they play football, right? So then, but in the meantime, so many clubs, they compete each other, and the market is so saturated, and so Yeah, in my view, I understand that maybe my view is not the traditional view, but in my view,
it's interesting. So you're like, hey, let's diversify assets into esports and other areas so we can increase the revenue potential of the Wolves brand above the ceiling of what football is. That's what you're saying.
Yeah, what I'm saying is for Wolves, for us, we have to look outside.
Yeah.
If we only stay in football, we have to compete with other clubs like Everton, Fulham, or Bournemouth, whatever, all the clubs in the UK. And it's almost impossible for us to have the same fan base in the UK as Man United has, right? So what I'm saying is, and we should stay strong in the league, but we should have other power to help us to build a big empire to attract more fans. Maybe some fans, they understand football, some fans they don't. Some fans, they like both, whatever. Doesn't matter. The people will like us, then help us to compete with Man United in the future. That's the only pathway for me to think about.
Another big opportunity that a lot of people see, but the financial reality is very different in its current structure, is women's football. And you've had a situation this year which has been documented around licensing and buying a license for women's football. We talked about it on the show with Spencer Owen, but for context, didn't buy a license, which meant that you couldn't get promoted even if you had finished top of the league, because I would imagine the costs attributed to it are too significant for the club to be able to support. How are you approaching the women's football side of this in the business perspective as an opportunity for you to continue growing the brand?
I think the reason why I'm here is because I listened to the podcast about #United, right? So I thought Spencer said something really in my heart, just I echo what he said. So first, I want to say the licensing side is strange, because I understand what the Women's League is trying to do, and because they are trying to learn from American sports, and you're the owner, you want to contribute to the league or whatever, you have to be ready for that, right? Financially or facility or whatever. Okay, no problem. For example, if you are organizing a league for 20 clubs to join the new league, you can do this. Then if you don't like it, and you can join. If you don't like it, you can leave. But unfortunately, in football in the UK, it's not like that. And I'm not saying I don't like that. I like that model. I think if one day the women's league can be like that, I'm not against it. But in the meantime, football in the UK is still about the pyramid, about maybe a lot of teams, they want to compete with the big guys and they want to be promoted. So what I saw is they just try to do something by their own, but they ignore the areas and about the traditions of the country about football. Then eventually, of course, Wolves, we are okay to spend. We are okay. It's not too much for us to spend and for the women's league, but I feel this kind of procedure in the middle season, in January, whatever, it's strange, So you either do it in the summer to say you do it or not, or you do it after the season. For example, in the Premier League, like Luton or Wolves, even when we were promoted 9 years ago or whatever, we were asked to change something about the new the stadium or whatever to maybe facilitate the broadcast to do a better job. We spent, I don't know, maybe 5 million or 6 million to do that. But the money was not from us. The money was from the TV rights, because we know we will get 100 million-ish and from the next season. So the 5 million can be deducted from that, So it's easy. The league say you have to do something, but the money will be from us. But for Women's Super League, it's like this, and you have to do something by your own. But from TV broadcasting revenue, not too much. So financially, I feel it's a kind of demand to the owners to have to do something. Then also, the timing is strange in the middle season. Then also, and women's football is still at a stage. We should allow more people to think about, to brainstorm and to design how to develop the sport, not only by maybe 10 teams or 12 teams at the top, So then, but you just come here to tell me what you should do? You should have 1, 2, 3 coaches. You should have a pitch. You have whatever. You have to do it. You have to pay this. You have to pay that. I feel, come on, it's a new sport, whatever. So then you tell me you have to do this, then, but you don't allow me to be more creative, to be more innovative, to do something and to improve the sport. And also another context is just, I feel the message is, because you are a big club and you can spend, but still encourage the women's team to rely on the men's team a lot, So for example, because you are bigger on men's team and you can spend, but they forget about commercially how to make the women's football more independent. It's very important. And even for the girls, I don't think they like to rely on the boys too much, right? So at the beginning, maybe we invest, whatever, but ultimately in a few years, and women's sport can be sustainable by themselves. But now currently the trend or what they are doing things, I think they are on the opposite. They are trying to use the power of the men's team more and more and more than whatever. So that's strange. And
but the problem is right now is it's requiring you to invest off basically the balance sheet, the P&L of the men's team, because that's where the majority of the money that you have is.
Yeah, I feel we are morally hijacked a little bit, and just you have to do this, otherwise, and people will argue you're doing a wrong thing morally, whatever. But actually, morally right, you should be allowed or find a way to cultivate the commercial environment for women's team to be independent and to grow by themselves, and not like now. So I'm not happy about what the women's league is doing at the moment.
With respect, what's the point in having a women's team? Just pause. If you're not going to take up the right to be promoted, like if the chance of winning isn't going to be taken up, why enter the sport?
Yeah. Also, for Wolves, for example. Yeah, we have only 600 in average attendance in every game, 600. And what I know for Brighton, for other teams, maybe 2,000, 3,000, whatever, and or 4,000, whatever. So I think several thousand are typical attendance for mid-table or lower table Super League team, So then maybe only Arsenal, they have a bigger fan base. I don't know. So even Chelsea, when I watched the video when they won the league, the attendance is not so high. So
my point is to you, why do you not then say, listen, although we're super supportive of the women's game and it's fantastic, it's not at a stage yet where it's investable for us as a business. And so we're going to wait until the market matures and then invest when the market is ready.
Yeah.
Sure.
Also, you should give people more choice. For example, America, US, they have maybe several different leagues, and one for top level elite, one for semi-pros, one for amateurs or whatever, and all the leagues, they are doing well. And that's the thing. US is doing well. So, for example, like basketball, they have NCAA, they have NBA, they suit different audience, different players. And I feel women's football should, elite football should be there, but also why not do more semi-pro leagues or whatever, just try to encourage more girls to play football and with a right backing from finance, from other owners. I like to have more sponsors to build different teams to play, So, and for example, if you think about the squad of Wolves now for women's team, if we are promoted to the championship or the Super League, I can tell you maybe 99% of squad will be changed. So the players, they have a job. So they have a job to do, then they play football at night to come here 3 or 4 days a week to train with us or whatever. Very good. But it's still their hobby, they are not their job. They still need another job to do that. Then when we are promoted to Super League or whatever, then eventually we have to sign better players, or the players who can be more committed to the daily training. They have to train 5 days a week or whatever. So then it means all the girls, they are training with us and they have to leave. So
if you got promoted, that you wouldn't take on that additional cost?
I don't know. I feel two sides are pulling me. One side is, I think, of course, for every team you have to win. You try to win. The reason you have a team here, if you don't want to win, why you have a team here, right? So, yeah. But also another side, you think about the goals. You think about you have to change the whole squad or whatever, and why, So I hope the ideal case is I hope we can win. We can go up and to the Super League, but we can carry all the girls together with us. But it will not happen, So that's the dilemma in my heart. But at the moment, I can't think too far away about it because I don't think the league knows what they are doing at the moment. And but what we can do is try to look at only the next year, try to win the next year or whatever. Yeah.
Tell us about Molineux. You've got an amazing stadium, historic stadium, 32 nearly 1,000-seater, I think. That more and more experiential is being built into football. Fan experience is key. The atmosphere created is fantastic at the club. How is the stadium fit for the modern football? Are you looking to do any developments for it? Are you looking to change anything, or is it well set?
Yeah, I think Molineux is a stadium not bad because I have been to many stadiums in the UK, and it's a good stadium. Then from the capacities, we have 32,000 seats at the moment, and I think it's good enough. And maybe 35 or 40, maybe the max for the city. But it's not very urgent. I think the urgent change is we should have more hospitality areas and to maybe to serve the clients from the business, and they want to have a better environment to have a conference or to eat there or whatever, and we should do more on this. And we have a very old stand called steel ball stand, and it's too old, so it's built maybe in 1980s, but so the next plan is try to change a bit there and try to build more area for hospitality, for more business clients to come to enjoy there. So similar to what Fulham did and for the
new stand.
The new stand, but they are more high end for the super rich client to come. But we are more for maybe not super rich, but maybe some client they want to have a better environment to enjoy the games or conference. So that's what we are trying to do. But I don't think the capacity should be much higher than now. And I think the city can support maybe 35 to 38,000 ish and fans to come to watch. So
small tweaks rather than stand changes.
Financially, if you just do it for only 3,000 or 4,000, it doesn't work, and you will lose money for sure, and for a long time thing. So we are carefully thinking about that. So the goal is not to rebuild the stand or the stadium. It's more about to tweak or to change it, to optimize that.
Yeah. So you said earlier, you dropped it in, but it's a really important point. I think that fans always like security, and you said earlier we're not looking to sell. Are you ever looking? If you're not looking to sell and hold the position and keep building with the club, are you ever looking for, should we say, minority investments, people to come in with you to help further some of the ambitions that you have?
Yeah. We are actively looking for new investors to like a minority investor, but with strategic value for us. So yeah, like who can help us to build some new stand and to have a better entrance into other industries. Entertainment or esports, or someone who can do more hotels in Wolverhampton and to help us. So all the things. So, but we need, I think for
how much do you think Wolves is worth today?
For the valuation, I think I can't say that, but I think we are definitely bigger than Palace. So, for example, the deal for Palace is closed now, right? So I think the minority owner is trying to sell the club to another owner in the States. So you can look at the valuation for Palace, but the Wolves, for any angle, we are bigger than them. So yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. But of course, we are still in the same category. Yeah. Not the top level team. Yeah.
How do you look at the kind of period moving forward then? You've said you're in this kind of rebuild phase. Just the fact that you're on here to me says that you've really recognized, should we say, that this is a great time to talk and communicate with a fan base and talk about these new changes that you're looking at, recognize that this is a time for development and growth. What excites you? What's the message that I guess you really want to be taking out there now as the owner of this great and historic club, as it continues to hopefully maintain its position in the Premier League and hopefully compete further up the table?
Yeah, I just think personally, I hope maybe about communication with the fans here or around the world, and I think people should understand that we are very ambitious. And we are not only content to stay in the league. We are not only content to be a mid-table club, but how to be a better club or big club, and it's not by the traditional way people are thinking about. So, for example, we are not like our owner is not from UAE or from Saudi or whatever. So then we just try to find a way, ambitious way to do something in future for Wolves to be as big as the big clubs here, but not the traditional way. Maybe something out of the football side. But eventually, I like the logo, for example. I think one day there could be 100 million fans who see the logo, who are happy about the logo, and who are proud, okay, they are a fan for us. That incurs a lot of different adventures from our business. But in the meantime, we are happy, or we are very confident we can compete in the league itself. Because if you do everything else, but if you lose the league, if you lose the position in the league, it's no use. So it's also demand us to do very well in the league. So we have to do the two things together. And what I hope fans to have is, of course, they have the confidence to do this. And because it's not a traditional way, and it's not easy, it's tough, but only when things are tough, you are trying to do this. Otherwise, it's too easy while we are here, right? So, yeah.
I saw this quote, but when you said if you only want to pursue trophies or consistent European football, Wolves might not be an ideal choice. Is that because you're talking about the breadth of all of what you've got to do? You're not saying that obviously you're not trying to compete at the top.
It's more about I'm totally against a traditional way to do football. So I think I don't like the traditional ways people like to talk about, like a new stadium, a fancy new stadium, a fancy new owner, spend 1 billion, 2 billion, whatever, buy fancy players, whatever. Then I think that model is okay for fans. It's okay for the government, it's okay for the city maybe, but it's not okay for the owners. Yeah. So I think I have seen so many owners, they spend the money, they lose money, they go. No one remember that.
Should we do a quick fire?
Yeah.
You should take it away.
So what do you think was the biggest needle moving moment for you since you've owned the club? Could be positive or negative.
Yeah, I think on football side, I think maybe the biggest thing is about we had 1 or 2 seasons very, very tough, and after the first 2 or 3 seasons, and the injury from Raul, and also after maybe 21, 2022 something, I think it's not moving the needle. Is more about we learned something from the mistakes we have made, and we rethink about what we should do. And I think for myself, I grew up a lot. From the beginning, I came here, knew little about football. Then eventually, we had some success, but not because I'm super good at what I'm doing. Maybe by some luck, or I have some friends, whatever. So, but now it's the timing. Myself and my team, we have to be strong enough and to take over all the things to carry on. So that's maybe it's not a big event for me to think about this, but I think that's the change and the growth from the last 10 years.
If you didn't have your current manager, who would you most like to have?
I think Vito is the best, and I think no best coach for me, and because it's more about who is more suitable for us. And so for example, I like Pep, but if I have Pep here, I can't meet his requirement. Totally, no chance. So we needed to find a coach and working with us and more like a team and with the chemistry. So the coach is a part of the team, but it's not like I dream to have an ideal coach then to come to do everything. No, I think that's not our model. So personally, I don't have a ideal coach in my mind.
How did you find? Not many people would have expected him to come in. Was he just someone that you'd been aware of for a while? Because as I said, he's done very well.
You mean
Vito?
Yeah, Vito has been waiting for the chance for a long time. So, and I knew him. And when he was in Shanghai, when I went to Shanghai Port to watch his game, I knew him. But before Wolves, maybe he didn't appear in the Premier League a lot, so maybe people didn't know about him. But in Portugal, he has high praise from the players, from the circle, whatever. So I think sometimes it's a by chance. If Gary did a good job, then maybe he would stay, then Vito would never come. So football is sometimes about the destiny, So, yeah, true.
What's your favorite stadium to play at?
I like Anfield, yeah. I think it's a good stadium and more. I don't like the stadium like oval stadium, So I like the stadium with 4 stands, So then four stands, then maybe more traditional way. So I don't like the modern stadium. So like the Spurs Stadium or whatever. I think the traditional 4-stand stadium will be good. So it's only my own taste, yeah.
How do you balance local authenticity and growth? You're doing all of these things that you want to build out the brand, but you have to keep the relationship with the local fans. How do you do that?
I think you should be yourself. So I have to be myself, and my team have to be themselves, and try to lead the local fans to join your journey, not just to follow the local fans to their journey. So sometimes I think people come here, the owner come here, try to follow the local culture or whatever. It's okay. It's one of the choice to take. But for us, it's more about to understand the culture here, but to evolve the culture here and then try to lead the people here to join our new journey and carrying with the same culture or taste together with the new journey, but maybe to have a better journey than they used to have before. So it's not easy, but that's what we want to do. If we only are content to stay in Wolves and to be like a rival to West Brom, beat West Brom, we are happy, of course. And like a UU club or whatever, in one season promoted, then that's a championship. If we are happy to do this, why I'm here? I don't need to be here. I can do the same thing to any club or whatever. So why I'm here, right? So why I'm here, why we are here, to try to bring something new to the city, to the club, and also for the long-term sustainability and also long-term success, So and also some new things. And for example, one day you never know. One day maybe Wolverhampton will become a new city for esports. You never know. We are thinking about some event here and there. Then you never know. So, but something new about that. That's what we want to do.
What's the hardest cultural change of moving you and your family from Shanghai to Wolves?
It's not too much. We like England, so we like England. We speak English, and the only change is we were from a big city with 20 million people, and so it's Shanghai is very good. It's dynamic and very convenient and very good. And but the difference is we have been in Shanghai for 40 years. I was born in Shanghai, so so I was born in Shanghai. My childhood, my university was all in Shanghai. So we have been in a big city for 40 years. So like I've been in London for 40 years. I don't mind. So I've been 40 years. I want to have some change or whatever. Then now I go to a rural town. I enjoy the green. I enjoy the nice people there, the pubs or whatever. So it's different. So, but because I have been in Shanghai for 40 years, I don't mind. But,
Final one from me.
Yeah.
Has your position on VAR changed? You took the motion to the Premier League last year. You were on the end of a lot of unfortunate decisions with it. Has it changed since that was unsuccessful? Or do you still think technology in sport on the officiating side takes away some of the magic?
I still think VAR is not good, so I still stay the same view, and even they are improving, but the improvements from now compared with the last season was more about the referees, so they are better. So in my view, why not train the referees to do a better job? For example, the VAR can help, but why not still give the referees the dominance or the decision-making power to decide? For example, one good example is for offside, for example. Sometimes the VAR can check the offside for 1 millimeter or whatever. But is that the true spirit of the sport, right? So even for the referee on the pitch, he can't see that. But if just offside for 1 millimeter, it can be a goal. No problem for me, because if the attacking player move 1 millimeter ahead of the defender, it's not a kind of disadvantage at all. So for this, I think the football rule and the VAR are trying to go too detail about this, and I'm not a fan for that. And of course, I'm have to praise that the league. They have been doing a good job and to improve the quality about VAR compared with the last season. But I think it's more about the referee standard. And I'm not against the digital tools to help. I'm against the leave to get rid of the authority of the referee, because the referee is reading the game and living the game, so he has to have the say about all the things. Otherwise, just someone from outside, from in London to watch a game in Wolverhampton and tell the referee what you should do, whatever. So yeah, so that's the reason we vote against that. But of course, I understand other 19 clubs, they don't like this, but it's my personal view about it.
You must have felt like the unpopular kid at school there. It's like 19, like, no, we disagree. And you're like, we're the ones.
Yeah.
Jeff, thank you so much for joining us. This was so wonderful to have you on. I really appreciate the time today.
Thank you. Thank you, guys.
Fantastic.
Thank you.